Namaste, hello, and welcome to India Global Week 2020. Be the Revaya and a Better New World. I'm your host, Priyanka Deo, reporting from New Delhi, and I'm super excited because as of this morning, we just got word that we have registered attendees from over 50 countries. I believe it's 52 countries, if not more now. So super excited. Follow us on India Incorp. That's at India INCO throughout India Global Week. That being said, let's get started. Now, how can the USA and India elevate its partnership during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19? What are the key challenges? What aspects of the US-India partnership will guide the world out of this crisis? And what does post-COVID-19 India-US relations look like? We're going to explore this in the next panel discussion. It's titled Partners in Revival, Time for Action. If you're taking screenshots, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, be sure to post them up on social media. I'm tracking it right here. So hopefully we can get to your thoughts and questions using hashtag #BeTheRevaya. With that being said, I give it to the moderator for this session, Dr. Mukesh Aghi, US-India Strategic Partnership Forum CEO and President. Now, the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, or USISPF, is a nonprofit organization with the primary objective of strengthening the US-India by strategic partnership. With that being said, I give it to Dr. Aghi to conduct the session. Dr. Aghi, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our listeners. We are honored and delighted to have Ambassador Jester, Ambassador Sandhu. They are good friends. I've worked with them for many, many years, and they're also a big proponent of US-India partnership. When I say partnership in a win-win fashion itself, let me introduce to you first Ambassador Jester, who was appointed as the 25th ambassador to India from the United States on November of 2017. And he comes with extensive both government and business experience. He was earlier as a managing partner at a private equity Robert Pincus, and before that under Secretary of Commerce. So I can keep on talking about his excellent background, but I will stop at that because I think I want to save time for question and answers also. But I have to say one thing, since he has been appointed as the ambassador to India, he has taken the relationship to a much, much higher plateau in challenging times. And he has also explored, when I say the country, reached out to citizens to ensure that there is much more better network connectivity between the embassy and the citizens of India itself. So Ambassador Jester, thank you for all the effort, energy you put in, and we appreciate that. Ambassador Sandhu, I've known him for ages. In fact, when he was here in Washington, D.C. in multiple roles, and also when he was High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, I visited him there. And I have to say one thing about Ambassador Sandhu is he is very personable, professional, and a wonderful human being. And he is focused a lot on trying to build this relationship. Because we both, and we all three of us believe that this is the most important partnership which you have to work on. And Ambassador Sandhu comes with tremendous experience, not only working in Sri Lanka, but in Kiev and other geographies, and also walking the corridors of US Congress and US cities itself. So Ambassador Sandhu, welcome to this event. If I may just start basically asking for a vision, and I'll start this question, and I think I'll ask Ambassador Sandhu to respond first. What is your vision of the relationship between these two countries? Where do you see success? What is your aspiration as you move this partnership to a different level post-COVID era? Ambassador Sandhu?
Thank you, Mukesh. Thank you for having me. You know, the relationship between India and United States is based on shared values. As the world's oldest and largest democracies, we are natural partners. And I'm sure you will recall that Martin Luther King Jr. visited India in 1959 and acknowledged the intellectual influence of Mahatma Gandhi on him. Then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of our Constitution, he studied at Columbia University. and was deeply influenced by American political thought. Our founding fathers were inspired by the US Constitution. For example, the fundamental rights draws from the US Bill of Rights. These shared values form the basis of the close relationship. The people-to-people connect between our two countries binds us together. As you are aware, there's a strong and vibrant Indian diaspora in the United States. It's an important bridge in our relationship. At the same time, the Indian professionals here working in high-tech areas contribute to the innovation ecosystem of the United States. And not to forget, the 200,000 plus Indian students in the United States, mostly studying in STEM areas, are an important link between our two countries. Our relationship is underpinned by these linkages, and our relationship has grown over the years, and we now have a comprehensive partnership. There's no facet of human activity in which we do not work together. Therefore, our coming closer actually is a reality, not merely an aspiration.
Thank you. Ambassador Jester?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, both with you, Mukesh, who I have known for many years and worked together with on various items, and with Taranjit, who, as I said earlier, had the pleasure of visiting when he was in Sri Lanka, and I know has served in the United States on several occasions, both in Washington, D.C. and New York. And we're very fortunate to have him as the Indian ambassador now to the United States. I've been fortunate to be working on U.S.-India relations now for 20 years. I began in 2001 when I was Undersecretary of Commerce. And we were really, at that point, transforming the relationship from one that had been a bit at arm's length during the Cold War, and have really, if you step back and sort of see what's happened over the past 20 years, it's been extraordinary. And as Ambassador Sandhu has said, it now extends on a bilateral basis across virtually every issue conceivable, military and security issues, counterterrorism, trade and investment, energy, health, science and technology, agriculture, obviously issues of students and education. We work together on the oceans, on space, and we just keep expanding it. And I think that is significant in and of itself. And there's a level of comfort of working together and increasing coordination. But what's also significant is that we now share a common vision for the Indo-Pacific region, and the importance of that being an open, free, and rules-based region that respects sovereignty and territorial integrity, and that does not have predatory economic practices, and that solves its disputes peacefully in accordance with international law. And we want to work together with like-minded countries in the region to advance this vision. And we now are working together globally on issues. As Ambassador Sandhu said, it's a comprehensive global strategic partnership. So it continues to grow in leaps and bounds. I think it's got a very solid foundation in the people-to-people relationship. There's just a natural affinity between Indians and Americans, and we have the 4 million Indian Americans. And it goes, I think, even beyond shared values, just to the way we think about life, the importance we place on education, the professional pursuits of each of us, and the way we've been able to work together in the business world and elsewhere. So from my perspective, this is one of the defining relationships for the 21st century, and it just continues to get stronger and more important as time goes on.
Thank you, Ambassador. I think both of you have conveyed that it's a comprehensive relationship, it's a long-term relationship, which is focused on win-win value proposition for both countries and both citizens. And, the question I have to move on, and I'll start with you, Ambassador Jester, is it's a big ocean to boil. And when you look at this relationship. And so the question is how do you define success in 2-3 different areas, be it on trade, be it on major defense partners, or be it on values which we share itself? Or your perspective, Ambassador Jester?
Well, 2 points I'd make. First, when I first came out here, people said, what's the next great initiative in the US-India relationship? And my feeling is the relationship has gotten bigger than a particular initiative or a particular measure of success. It cuts across, as we've said, so many issues, and inevitably, when you do that, there are going to be points of friction as well as points of synergy. And that's part of a mature relationship that the United States has with other countries as well. I think in terms of some of the big potential areas of success, obviously, we've continued to build out our military relationship. We have increasingly complex exercises together. We have exchanges. We share some of the weaponry and interoperability. We're able to communicate in secure ways. And as you look at the Indian Ocean region, we work together on maritime security. Trade is another area where, on the one hand, people do get frustrated because we see so much potential that we still feel we can fulfill. On the other hand, every year the trade amounts, volumes grow, as does investment grow. And so it certainly continues to expand and get better, but I think there's more possibilities there. Energy has been another area that really in the last 2 to 3 years has become a critical component, and we work together on energy security, on innovation, on strategic energy issues. And I could go on, as I said, in space, in the oceans. So there are a lot of areas of success. I think looking forward, 5G is an area where we could work together with our technology companies to advance that. And of course, COVID-19 highlights the importance of health and how we've worked together. We have a large contingent from the HHS, so the Health and Human Services Department here, as well as the Center for Disease Controls and Prevention. And we've worked with India for many years on health issues. We're a major developer of vaccines. India is a major producer. We can work together on pharmaceuticals. So these are all areas of huge opportunity. And we have to simply continue to move forward and work together to take advantage of these opportunities.
Thank you, Ambassador Jester. I think you brought a lot of issues. Your response, Ambassador Sandhu?
As Ambassador Jester has just said, India and United States, we are working together in wide array of areas. In terms of priorities, I would say the deepening of our economic partnership is an important priority for us, especially now with the outbreak of COVID-19 that has jolted the global economy. While there are challenges, there are, of course, opportunities. As businesses are taking a look at the supply chains, India and United States can work together to leverage the opportunities. Ambassador Jester mentioned about the defense. We have come a long way in a short span of time. Today, we have a broad-based defense partnership with the United States encompassing many aspects of defense cooperation. So it's not just that it covers defense trade, which of course is over $21 billion, but also covers joint exercises and training, joint research and technology collaboration, co-development and co-production of defense platforms. So we see an robust institutional framework. And at the same time, you are also aware that a number of reform measures have been taken up by the Government of India very recently. We have opened up new opportunities for foreign investors and for mutually beneficial collaboration with partner countries. And in that sense, this is one priority. Then, as Ambassador Jester mentioned, energy. Now, if you just look at it, 3 years ago, perhaps it was nothing. But now it is remarkable. India today is amongst the top 6 export destinations for US crude and LNG. And energy trade between our two countries has amounted to $8 billion in 2019 alone. So in that sense, there's an immense potential for expanding the bilateral cooperation in this area. And lastly, and if not what he has already said about the trade, this is again, as I mentioned, it's one of the important dimensions of our comprehensive global strategic partnership. Our bilateral trade has expanded at more than 10% on a year-to-year basis. And apart from energy and defense, our basket is indeed growing. And trust, partnership, and cooperation with reliable partners will be the way forward. And as you know, COVID-19 has shown to both United States and India that we are reliable partners. And that is an important base for our future collaborative investment opportunities, as well as the push.
Thank you, Ambassador Sandhu. I'm going to pose a question. Initially, let me focus on the major defense partnership and also Indo-Pacific cooperation. What is the vision both of you have when you look at each other as major defense partner? Is it supply of weapons to each other, communication, logistics, or creating a defense manufacturing ecosystem in India, or working together in a quad across the region to make sure the international rule of the law is adhered to? So let me start with Ambassador Jester on that question, then I'll come to you, Ambassador Sandhu.
All of the above. I think what's very important is to recognize in today's world, defense does not just mean pieces of hardware or even platforms. It's systems and networks. And I think where the United States can be of great assistance to India is integrating it into some of the systems and networks that we have for domain awareness in the Indian Ocean region and for other ways to integrate all of your defense capabilities. It also, as you said, relates to co-production and to really building out, and in India, things that we do together that have a global market. And I've been down to Hyderabad. We have some joint ventures there with Tata and Boeing and Tata and Lockheed Martin that are very significant and I think can be a model for things that we can do more of. We have a lot of Indian companies that provide components for American weaponry and export that even to the United States. In fact, one of the things that came up during the lockdown was our view that I think we were able to persuade the Indian government that some of the work of the defense component companies was essential to national security. And so working together in that regard. And then as you were also indicating, really working with other like-minded countries in the defense sector to ensure that this region evolves in accordance with the affirmative message and vision that we have of an inclusive region that's open, that has respect for freedom of navigation, freedom of overflight, for trade, for the, as I said, the peaceful settlement of disputes, and really makes people feel comfortable, including the countries of Southeast Asia and others, that they will continue to have their sovereignty and territorial integrity respected.
Thank you, Ambassador Jester. Ambassador Sandhu?
Mukesh, as I already covered some of this, and that our bilateral partnership has come a long way. And today it's much more broad-based defense partnership, which encompasses many aspects. And I went over some of them. The designation of India as a major defense partner by the US and the accordance of strategic trade authorization 1 status by Department of Commerce, is in recognition of our robust defense ties and the immense potential, as Ambassador Justice indicated, it holds for further expansion across its different dimensions. The signing of Industrial Security Annex during the second 2+2 ministerial in December 2019 is another step. Indeed, defense cooperation has itself as one of the most significant dimensions of our relationship. And on this other part which you have said, As democracies with shared values, India and United States share a commitment to rules-based order of international law and peaceful settlement of disputes. There is increasing convergence in our strategic vision, including in areas such as Indo-Pacific, as you indicated. Our relationship is a global comprehensive strategic partnership, which means that we cooperate in a number of areas, including regional issues. Our relationship with the United States is multifaceted and stands on its own footing. It is on an upward trajectory, and therefore there are many complementarities in our partnership.
Thank you, Ambassador Sandhu. Let me just move on to energy, because if India is going to grow economically, it needs sustainable, secure energy. And today, if you look at India, imports slightly over 80% of its energy. And in the last few years, the cooperation between India and the US has gone up dramatically. As you mentioned in your opening statement, that India has started importing a lot of US crude and moving in other areas. So my question to both of you is while India leverages the defense partnership and moves into the energy area, where do you see greater collaboration, specifically on the renewable environment itself? Because you have I call the old energy and the new energy. Where do you see the momentum picking up, Master Jester?
Well, again, I think our energy relationship, as Ambassador Sandhu has said, has grown by leaps and bounds in the last 3 years. And it has a component of energy security, a component of energy innovation, and a component really of the broader strategic view of energy. In terms of security, as has been said, yes, we have increased from virtually zero to a very significant amount exports of liquefied natural gas and oil. And while that may be the old energy, that's still going to be around for quite a while. And I think we can contribute as well in helping to build the liquefied natural gas infrastructure in India and the strategic petroleum reserves. So I think those are important dimensions. But also it expands to renewables technology that the United States can work with India on across the board. India has obviously been a leader in solar with the International Solar Alliance. But there are smart grids that we can work on, energy storage, and other clean carbon technologies. So that's very significant. So there's an innovation element. And as I said, strategic, how to build out the strategic petroleum reserve, how to make sure that we can backstop each other, and how do we really see energy as a very now significant pillar in the overall U.S.-India relationship.
Thank you, Ambassador Jester. Ambassador Sandhu?
Let me just add to what Ambassador Jester has said. He has basically covered most of it. Given our immense potential for expanding bilateral cooperation in this area, that is why it was decided to elevate the energy dialogue to the level of strategic energy partnership, steered by the ministers on both sides. Now, the second round of this dialogue at the ministerial level will be held very shortly. This demonstrates the depth of our energy partnership, which covers areas such as energy security, electricity grid, promotion of energy efficient technologies, development of India's national gas grid, cooperation in the field of renewable and clean energy, as you had mentioned, exchange of best practices on fuel conservation, energy efficiency, and power sector reforms, to name a few. As India expands and modernizes its infrastructure across the energy sector, we would encourage US investments, expertise, skill sets, and knowledge sharing in line with Make in India initiative of our Prime Minister.
Thank you, Ambassador Sandhu. Let me just move on to the commercial partnership. We've had the trade go up almost over $160 billion. The potential, we think, is more closer to over $500 billion. And more important is what we are seeing is India had a surplus 3 years ago, which seems to be coming down with the US. And so the trade is becoming more of an equal partnership. How do we basically take this trade relationship from 160 billion to over 500 billion? That's one. Second is we were hoping for a trade deal, and somehow, for whatever reason, it seems to become a mirage as we move forward. Is it important to have a trade deal to grow this business to that $500 billion? Because things seems to be working the way they're working. So let me ask Ambassador Jester first, then I'll come to you, Ambassador Sandhu.
Well, as we've said earlier, I think trade is a huge potential opportunity for both countries. And I think it's even more important as we've come out of the COVID-19 lockdown period. India has made a clear decision not to participate in the regional agreement with the Chinese and other countries in Asia. Some of that's been heightened by, emphasized by the recent disputes on the border area. And in my view, the way to really lock in some of the economic potential going forward is to do a free trade agreement. That really ensures we're now India's largest market for trade and investment, and you want to lock that in. You want to see how the Indian service companies can continue to provide services to the United States, how we can work together in healthcare, how we can ensure energy trade. And I do worry at times that we don't have a big enough vision for the trade relationship. And I said this in my initial policy speech when I arrived in India, that we would love to do a bilateral free trade agreement. We still get hung up on even this smaller interim agreement. We need to have sort of reciprocity. But I think coming out of COVID-19, where economic growth is needed, having a trade agreement would really add impetus to the possibilities for growth. And I recognize the desire for what's called self-reliance in India, and I hope that means building a more resilient and stronger local economy so that it can participate more ably in the global economy. And I think this would be an area of strategic potential and opportunity, and all the more so as companies may start to have second thoughts about investing further in China or even are pulling out of China. India should become an attractive place for them to invest and a real trading and investment hub, not just in the region, but globally.
Thank you, Ambassador Jester. Ambassador Sandhu? Are you on mute?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can.
Mukesh, as I indicated earlier, that trade and investment cooperation, without doubt, is an important dimension of our comprehensive global strategic partnership. And our bilateral trade has been growing at more than 10% on a year-to-year basis. And also, as we have indicated earlier in our discussion, energy and defense trade have emerged as an important component of this bilateral basket. While this growth is impressive, there's no doubt the real potential is yet to be reached. Trust, partnership, and cooperation with reliable partners will be the way forward. To further our shared economic interests, it is imperative for us to identify inherent strengths of our economies, our complementarities, and new priority areas for cooperation. At the same time, it is important to accommodate each other's interests and to address issues of mutual concern. There is opportunity in every crisis, including in this one. This is a time to reflect together on the global supply chains and how they can be refashioned and made more robust to withstand such crises in the future.
Thank you, Ambassador Sandhu. As you said that there is an opportunity in a crisis, what we saw in the COVID scenario, India took the lead ensuring that a lot of farmers' drugs go to a certain geography, including United States itself and other 127 countries. So the Prime Minister of India took the lead. But one thing which did come out, that roughly India supplies almost 40% of the US generic drug market. And India imports roughly 70% of the APIs from China. And in the case of paracetamol, ibuprofen, other antibiotics, 100% of the APIs come in. Do you see a greater collaboration between the United States and India to see how we can get more APIs being manufactured in India itself? Ambassador Sandhu, to you, then I'll come to Ambassador Jester.
Mukesh, this is in fact one of the most important areas which is going to lead our bonding together and deepening our economic partnership. As you know that United States and India have a history of collaborating and cooperation in not only medical research, but also in production of many medicines together. For example, I don't know if you are aware, just about 3 years ago, NIH and our ICMR institutions collaborated to produce a vaccine for another virus called rotavirus. And that's been very successful. And we have also in public health given it to many African countries. That same thing is happening now. We are collaborating on at least 3 vaccines for COVID-19. And you are aware that Gilead has got go-ahead for remdesivir, and 7 Indian private companies are forming collaborations with them for the bulk production of the drug, which will be distributed to more than 126 countries. And the cost of it is going to be very, very economical. So I have given you this example to mention to you the potential and the possibilities. And this is one knowledge-intensive industry which will prosper. And you are absolutely right. This is a time, and many are already rethinking in this area. Government of India, you heard the Prime Minister this morning, very clearly, we are setting out a red carpet, and a number of initiatives have already been taken. The government is listening to the industry from both sides, from all over the world, and particularly from the US industry. We have been asking out, and I'm sure in coming days, this is one area where we are both going to grow together.
Thank you. Ambassador Jester.
I agree that the whole medical and healthcare area is one of significance to both countries. We've worked together for many years. As I said, I have at the embassy a big contingent of people from the United States that work on these issues, as well as locally employed people that we use. I helped launch a hub in Calcutta for antimicrobial resistance cooperation on bacteria in that area with the Indian Council for Medical Research. And what we have to make sure as we come out of COVID-19 is that we see the complementarities that we have and institutionalize those. As I said, I would think through a trade agreement and make sure that we resist the temptation for our countries and others to say, gee, the lesson of COVID-19 is that we have to do everything internally and close ourselves off. I think, as has been said, vaccines is an area where we do development, production is done in India. Drugs, we often develop some of the higher end drugs. India is very good at the generic drugs. There's a variety of things that we can do, but we have to make sure that we clarify the rules of the road, that we ensure the complementarity, that we keep the markets open in this area, and that we build together on what's been a core strength for both of us.
Thank you, Ambassador Jester. And I think what comes out is that FTA between two countries is important. And the question I have for both of you, and I'll start with Ambassador Jester, is how do we take this forward? Because we've talked about it, and the question is, how do we take this forward so it's a win-win value proposition for both countries?
Well, obviously everyone has a different perspective on this. I think it's important that we try to conclude this smaller trade deal. It relates to the generalized system of preferences, which by law requires that there be some market opening measures in recipients of that preferential system. And that's what we've been trying to reach agreement on with the government of India. But I think it's important not only on its own terms and not as a concession to the United States, but as a signal to the world that India is open for trade and investment, and that it can be a global hub for manufacturing and part of the supply chain. And I think if we can get that done, that could then give optimism to launching a more comprehensive deal. And hopefully, as I said, coming out of the crisis we're in now, people can see that there are important areas, the whole digital economy. India and the United States should be leaders in this. Our technology companies have been at the forefront of world technology, but we want to set the standards together and not let other countries set the standards for technology. As I said, working together on 5G. So there are a range of areas that it would really behoove us to roll up our sleeves, sit down, and realize that our countries together can forge an economic partnership that's every bit as robust as the military partnership, that's equally strategic, because you need to have a thriving economy that's creating jobs and growth to get the resources to address your other priorities, and that really will be mutually beneficial.
Thank you. Ambassador Sandhu?
I think Ken has covered a lot of ground on this, but I'll only add that, as absolutely correctly said, that this is certainly a win-win proposition for both of us. And our leadership had, in fact, have given direction to both the trade sides to quickly wrap up the smaller deal and then go in for the bigger, as you said, FTA. What I believe, a lot of ground has been covered, and perhaps we are nearer to the smaller deal than ever before. And as Ken said, that a larger perspective and a broader vision has to be put in here. There are lots of areas, not only just that India has to send a message out in terms of symbolism. I think in the case of United States too, this is the time to send out that message of balancing of a win-win situation. And therefore, I hope that the trade sides of both our countries would be able to finalize this smaller deal very soon, and we can proceed ahead.
Thank you, and we hope, and anything we can do to help in that process, the industry is very keen to make sure that there's a trade deal happening. I'm going to move on because we've got 5 minutes on people-to-people ties. This relationship is not just about defense or about trade. It's a lot about people-to-people. You had Martin Luther King getting influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. We had our founder of the Constitution coming to Colombia to learn from that perspective. And we have over 4 million Indian Americans, the most affluent minority groups, quite active in politics. And Ambassador Jester has gone down all across India and seen the passion about United States in India itself. So my question, I'll start with Ambassador Jester, is what can people-to-people do to ensure this relationship goes beyond defense and trade and focuses more on culture, values, innovation, and other aspects of human relationship?
Well, I've said in the past that political scientists sometimes say that countries don't have permanent friends, they only have permanent interests. But I really think in the U.S.-India relationship, there is a permanency to the friendship among the people. And that really is part of the secret sauce of this relationship and the fundamental foundation that underlies a lot of the other things that we do. And I see it as U.S. ambassador traveling throughout this incredible country. Wherever I go, representing the United States of America, I could not be received more warmly and treated more favorably. And I always find it interesting when I meet with people who say their greatest investment is in the United States. I'm trying to figure out which stock they own and which companies, and they say, no, it's my children. And so I think we have to just keep, doing everything we are doing already. We try have a range of exchange programs that we want to grow and expand. We want more students to come to India. I know that there's temporarily some hiccups in that process due to the COVID-19 and whether schools will be opening up or having classes on campus. But when you step back, the number of Indian Americans has been growing exponentially. The collegiality between our people, the impact of Indian Americans on American technology companies and the business community is all so extraordinary that we just need to keep doing more of the same and expanding and getting more Americans. I mean, a lot of Americans come here for tourism. We have a lot of Americans living in India. At any one time, there are close to 800,000 to 1 million Americans in this country. So that, to me, is what really is a distinguishing feature of the relationship and one that we just need to continue to cultivate and build on.
Thank you, Ambassador Jester. Ambassador Sandhu?
Mukesh, as you said, there are over 4 million people of Indian origin in the United States, including the Indian Americans and Indian nationals. And as I mentioned earlier, the Indian diaspora is a vibrant community. They have distinguished themselves in all fields, especially in IT, business, higher education, medicine, research, etc. Of course, not to mention US Congress and administration as well. Doctors and healthcare professionals have been at the forefront in terms of confronting COVID-19 pandemic. There's a wide recognition of the role of Indian American doctors and healthcare professionals for their contribution. We have to, on any television channel in the United States today, and you can see that, during the pandemic, the community organizations have come forward to help local communities. Likewise, Indian business in the United States, through their CSR activities, have also supported local communities that they have become part of. The Indian American community is diverse and brings with it rich traditions of language, culture, representing the diversity of India. And in addition, the 200,000 plus Indian students in the United States, mostly in STEM areas, are important bridges between our two countries. People-to-people ties are integral to our larger strategic relationship. The frequent exchanges between our experts, scientists, also enables an ecosystem of free exchange of ideas and thoughts. This is an important element of our knowledge partnership in which the diaspora plays an important role.
Thank you. I am out of time. I wish we had more time. But I just want to say that the relationship is like a tapestry interwoven in multiple areas. And I think we just need to keep on leveraging on the positive side. And I am a strong believer that trade will continue, trade deal will happen. We just have to keep on nudging. Just wanted to thank you very much to both of you. You've been gracious and gave very honest answers. We look forward to this relationship continuing further. And thank you and wish you well. And please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukesh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Taranjit. Thank you, Mukesh.